Welcome back, everybody. You got Will and I-Man here from the Block Runner, MetaZone, Rovi, and Mscribe. Today, we got a DMT-NAT update.
Already.
All right, so I'm on Mscribe, I-Man, and we're looking at elements. Well, there's been a few more elements added to the list here, and just remember, everybody who's discovering patterns on the Bitcoin blockchain, right now the only field that's being indexed is field 11, which is the bits field of Bitcoin.
Okay.
And then Benny right now is working on, I guess, indexing bitmaps using the Jubilee update, right? And so once that gets done, now we're going to focus on block drops.
Okay. Yeah, we're seeing the whole block drop thing. I think after, I mean, we've been talking about the idea of, leveraging bitmaps as like a digital commodities extraction device, essentially.
Not only that, but a distribution center.
Right. So if we're using these now new buzzwords after the whole RSIC thing has now kind of come about, now people all of a sudden, they like the idea of parent assets, generating a new class of children assets, right? It's like a whole new thing.
Who would have thunk that, dude?
Who would have thought that would have been like an actual use case? But yeah, it's starting to become popularized around the ethos of KC and runes and all this stuff, which is cool. It's fine.
Yeah, watch our video from yesterday.
Correct. Yeah, you want these things to kind of propagate. Now, like the whole space is like interested in this idea. It's like,
yeah,
I like that. Like these assets, these non-fungible assets.
Yeah.
Can like accrue value over time.
Yeah.
Depending on like blocks, right? Every time there's a new block, there's these new assets being distributed among these like non-fungible asset holders, right? It's
that's novel.
Yeah, this is very original. And then they completely forgot about the fact that like bitmaps is like, this is where all this really started.
Yeah.
And the ecosystem's been waiting for this parent-child, I guess, architecture to roll out. And, of course, the platforms to incorporate this, yada, yada, yada. That's kind of why we're here, right, talking about it as well, because that's really our responsibility is to bring that to the bitmap ecosystem.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, so yesterday we were talking about R6, how they are generating child inscriptions that are being sent out to miners of that ecosystem that they have going on. And so kind of leveraging parent-child inscription is going to be the meta that gets leveraged, I think, the most here, like coming up, just because it's on-chain provenance.
Right.
And so if you have a bitmap, you're going to be able to generate parcels as a child inscription eventually, and then also inscribe non-arbitrary tokens from your bitmap. And they would all be child inscriptions from your bitmap.
Correct.
Right. And so this is going to be like a highly sought out mechanism for a distribution mechanism.
Yeah.
Right. For non-arbitrary tokens. And so, but having said that, there's some updates that need to be done. And so if we look at kind of Ordinal's Water as well, they're talking about R6 here, but they mentioned that they're about to upgrade to Jubilee as well. So it's like a whole industry sort of wave that needs to propagate, right, in order to have all these systems upgraded to Jubilee. But bitmap being indexed using the Jubilee will enable block drops, will enable child inscriptions, will enable all these things that we keep talking about.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's gonna be interesting, kind of seeing all these like block drop tokens being issued, and then people inscribing them. And we have Madiverse does a tweet. There's going to be block drop hunters out there. Yeah, so let's take a look at this. So block drop hunting may be a huge DMT meta. I foresee a potentially huge market meta coming down the road based on non-arbitrary tokens. DMT and non-arbitrary tokens protocol creates opportunities for projects to create block drop tokens that are only claimable by bitmap owners.
Yeah, so let's think about that. Like, what's the value in this, right? Because like we just said, we're witnessing essentially a block drop, but not really because they're not blocks, but because they had to just arbitrarily decide. We're talking about R6 now. Which of these PFPs that exist out there do I want to give on-chain provenance to, right? So it's like, let me arbitrarily decide. I guess the ones with like the most volume, the puppets, the nodes,
OMBs,
the frogs, OMBs, like these are really powerful communities.
Right.
I should probably tailor my ecosystem towards like the most power players in the space.
Yeah.
The ones holding the most highly liquid, I guess, PFPs in the market.
Right.
that's a good target demographic to kind of like, build my new ecosystem on top of.
Yeah.
And then, so let's think about in that correlation I think that equated to roughly 9,000 holders for RSIC. I mean, bitmap sky high, way above that.
You couldn't do an airdrop to bitmap holders. 32,000 of them, and there's only 21,000 R6.
Correct. But the point is, now that this distribution mechanism that people are starting to like because of RSIC, it's going to be built into the bitmap ecosystem, right?
Yeah.
And it's directed to the largest and the most valuable ordinals
such a good point
in the whole space.
Such a powerful point, dude.
Yeah, so like if you like what RSIC's doing, okay, I get it. They got runes. That's cool and all.
Yeah.
But like if you're actually trying to build like a real project, I think it would make the most sense. When I say real, I mean like something beyond just distributing a token.
Yeah.
Which is from what we've seen from this team. They create a good game mechanism how to distribute these future rune tokens.
Yeah.
But crypto doesn't end at like token distribution.
Yeah.
Typically that's like step one.
Yeah, that's true.
And then it's like, all right, now we're going to build something of value with this new ecosystem, this new community.
Yeah.
And this new economy at work. Right?
Yeah, for example, like a DeFi project or
a
game for
whatever else.
Whatever it is, yeah.
But the point is, okay, now I'm going to leverage what already exists and the tools that are being created, and I'm going to distribute and potentially galvanize a lot of interest from the bitmap community, right?
Yeah.
Maybe add some new value or service to them as a result.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's to me I think I agree with Matty Rich here, dude.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, because 32,000 people, it's among top 2 NFT holders in all of crypto.
Correct. Yeah. That's going to make a lot of noise. I think that's going to turn a lot of eyeballs. So we're going to need like a few successful deployments, I guess, of these non-arbitrarily generated Blockdrop projects, I guess.
Yeah.
So that is going to be something to look out for. So yeah, everybody send your energy for sure to Benny.
Yeah.
Because step 1 is Benny, I guess, like upgrading that indexer, right?
That's right. Yeah. So, and that takes a ton of work because the indexing from like the previous like regime to like the Jubilee kind of update, it's a little bit different style. And so what you don't want to do is you don't want to make old bitmaps that were not valid in this new kind of like software update.
Yeah.
So it's a very careful thing that he's got to make sure that everything aligns.
Yeah, I mean, I have faith and confidence that it's going to be handled very masterfully, if you would.
Yeah.
Just because track core, this is like setting the foundations for that, right?
That's true.
Being reliable in its indexing support and such, because this all leads to like additional phases down the road where this now becomes like a distributed effort, right, down the line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've also been hearing from the community, especially Cubs. He's hosting something, right? Ordinals. Oh no, that's not him. But Cubs was talking about using the NAT token as a governance token, right? That's something else that that's being like tossed around as far as idea phase on NATs. What do you think?
A governance token?
Mm-hmm.
For what exactly?
Well, think about this. Think of bitmap. Think of DMT and NATs. This is going to outlive people that live right now, right? So it's like, what's the mechanism where this stuff is going to be maintained post, like all this stuff?
Yeah.
Right. And so the theory is, a governance token, right? That is, these tokens are going to be passed along to different people. And those are the people who are going to be deciding as to what happens with. There's a new field on Bitcoin, right? Something gets updated on Bitcoin. There's a new field. Who supports the document? Who actually updates the indexing? Stuff like that.
Correct. Yeah, I'm not opposed to it in any way. I think it makes sense because this protocol that we've kind of put out there, it's definitely going to outlive us.
Yeah.
Like you're saying, same with bitmap. We can't rely on Bitoshi to be like this ultimate maintainer indefinitely.
Right.
Because the ecosystem by design, it continues to expand, infinitely.
Without their input.
Right. Yeah. Literally every 10 minutes, there's a new block. So a new bitmap, a new virtual and world potential.
New NAT.
And there's a new supply injection of non-arbitrary tokens or for NAT specifically. So I think it could for sure be utilized as like a governance vehicle.
Yeah.
But the actual structure and mechanisms, how to actually, utilize that and achieve real consensus, I don't know if it's been like thoroughly developed yet on top of Bitcoin at least.
Yeah, I don't know either. There's a layer 1 foundation that has like a semblance of a decentralized autonomous organization, but
does it really? It's just a forum board up
Yeah.
until now that people, yeah, that helps for sure. I think the community does need to kind of organize a little bit more better, clear communications as far as like what are good ideas and what are not such good ideas.
correct.
And then the best way to formally like recognize these ideas would be through the utilization of a token.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But again, then that requires a little bit more development.
Mhm.
Right. But yeah, I think it makes sense to kind of get the ball rolling in this direction because, yeah, we're just two guys. Benny's just one guy,
Yeah.
and his team of other guys.
Yeah.
But this is not going to be like, this is a forever evolving thing.
Yeah.
Right? So,
Yeah.
it requires a community to maintain it down the road. in my
Yeah,
opinion.
absolutely. And right now, it's sort of like, well, why? Let's say we choose field 14 to be index next. It's like, why? Why not 13? Right? Why not number 1? Why these decisions?
Yeah.
And that's a good it's a good way of thinking because in the future there might be an actual decision that shouldn't be arbitrary. It should be sort of kind of voted on by the community. But for right now, and to get the ball to continue to move, it's like
Yeah.
what seems to get the most traction is if it's field 14 is like, all right, that one's next until we
Yeah.
figure out the mechanisms to kind of widely distribute decision
Yeah.
making.
It's going to be difficult to kind of determine like what is going to be that threshold and that inflection point where we could comfortably say it's like this thing is a fully built airplane, right?
Yeah.
And it can now fly on its own without our input, which I think is always going to be like, you could say the same thing like when is Casey and the ordinals maintainers, when do they step away and incorporate community governance to kind of like dictate what's the next phase, what's the next Jubilee going to look like?
Yeah.
Right? He's pretty young, so maybe we don't need to do that. Just let him kind of run the show for the next 20 years. Why not?
Yeah.
Same for us. We're not that old. I don't think we're going to kick over it next year or anything like that, but you never know.
Yeah.
There are buses out there. They're in motion, so it could happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think we ever made a claim to be like, we have to run this ourselves.
No.
So it's worthy of discussion. Man, we have multiple Discords where these discussions can kind of live on publicly.
Yeah. We should probably do like a Twitter space, like an AMA, where people can come in, ask any questions, talk about governance. Cubs, Tomlinson, all those guys are always invited.
Yeah, this is a good first first move as a community. Like what happens from here, right? Because
from our perspective, the only thing that we're concerned about is getting the whole thing stood up, meaning indexing all the elements, making sure deployments are set up properly from a user interface standpoint. Also block drops, right? You should be able to do a block drop to RSIC holders, right? Why not? You could do that. You should be able to do block drops for PFP holders on Bitcoin.
Yeah.
You should be able to do that, especially bitmaps.
Yeah.
Right. So all that from a technical standpoint needs to be handled. Yeah. Right. Now governance and why choose this over that, that's different, right? That's something that in comparison standpoint, the most important thing to work on is the technical stuff, in my opinion.
Yeah. I totally agree. That's why we're going to be so public and open and transparent with these developments, right? As much as we can, and incorporate as much as community feedback as these things kind of roll out.
Yeah.
But I think ultimately down the line, for sure, there's going to be a much bigger need. I think just to have much more clear and transparent consensus among the community as far as direction and stuff, because this feels a lot kind of like the whole internet domain name service industry to me.
You shared that message with me. Is I can,
right?
Yeah.
Which stands for something. I don't know, but there's a multi-industry entity of different parties that all play a role.
Yeah, they basically assign IP addresses to all internet devices.
Right.
and allows the IP addresses to connect with each other and actually communicate on the internet.
Yes, and because the internet is like a global thing, it needs like input from many different global entities.
Maintenance, right? All of a sudden, there's like millions of devices connected to the internet on a weekly basis, like brand new devices just connected to the internet. They all need to be able to communicate with each other.
Right. So it's kind of like the name registry component of that, and then the database management of it all is like obviously it's to great pertinence to all of us that these things are properly maintained, right? And there's not too much disruption in all of that. So I could see this as being a, similar scenario down the road for non-arbitrary tokens, right? Because, adding new fields, different dimensions of consideration within this data set. Yeah. Like these are things that are sensitive, and if they change too rapidly, it could create too much disruption in the ecosystem. So
and then on top of that, the indexers need to follow this complex meta protocol, right? So we can't have like this all of a sudden like random updates by some guys who hold the Gitbook access, and like start changing stuff, because you're messing with people's like understanding of how this works, especially from the perspective of the indexers. Yeah, and so you can't have that, right? But for now, it's just in the interest of like kind of moving the ball forward. You just kind of have to keep pushing it.
Correct.
But yeah, that's a good thought by Cubs. So yeah, we'll schedule a Twitter space to talk about this, just to see everybody's like thoughts and have real-time input instead of an asynchronous like communication methods known as YouTube.
That's right.
Or Twitter, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, in other news, it looks like
the NATs are actually on SuperEX, right?
Yeah, they're on the SuperEX. So let's see what that looks like. So let's go to market.
Yeah, we were seeing last week that, like the Asian markets were getting like teasing a lot of support for NAT tokens and TAP tokens and such. So SuperEX, first on the trigger as far as like actually, bringing these tokens to a live trading environment. Yeah. And here it is. Here's what it looks like, dude.
Yeah. Yeah. So, look at all these flags, dude. I'm seeing like nothing but flags.
I don't know what that means, but I guess you could look up on Google, like, what is a flag when you're looking at meme lines? What does that represent? What does that mean? I don't know. We'll let some TA bros step in and
the
signal.
The TA guys know what I'm talking about. But essentially, they form like these pendants, these flags, and then it's funny because they could either go up from the flag or down from the flag, but it's random.
Well, yeah, it is interesting nonetheless that like there's patterns. Patterns, they exist everywhere, dude. Not just in on-chain data, but on these squigglies as well. These candlestick patterns, dude, they mean something. Right. So that's cool. It's cool to see NATs. Like this feels like much more of a live interface than like Ordinal's wallet or like mScribe's trading interface. Like that feels a little bit more like you're trading NFTs, right? Like this feels like a real fungible token now.
Yeah, and the reason is because on these centralized exchanges, you send them your inscriptions.
Correct.
Right, and they have like a balance for you that they can trade in like real time without dealing with blockchain stuff.
That's right.
Right. So
damn that pesky blockchain stuff, dude.
Yeah, so it's definitely a better experience. I'm not a user of SuperEX. I've never even I didn't know that SuperEX existed until NATs got listed on there. Yeah. But I do hear good things about it. So there's another one, OKX. They're basically announcing that they're going to support TAP tokens here.
Yeah, like officially. So last week, again, they put out this super speculative image, I guess. Well, only relevant to, I guess, the DMT-NAT community. But, now it's pretty much confirmed TAP is getting supported. And we'll be live on OKX, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, it is pretty cool. Yeah. So now, now TAP finally getting to OKX is going to be huge for all TAP tokens, huge for DMT-NATs, and we're going to see a lot more activity. That's why we're so interested in like getting this like kind of stood up with all the fields and everything. Yeah. But it's going to take some time. Yeah. And
in the meantime, just come hang out with us, I guess, in the Discord, because we're getting real time updates from the team over at Track. Yeah. So, obviously we're very excited to kind of like activate this next phase because, we see how the market is really anticipating all of this.
Yeah.
For one, bitmap parceling is going to be a big deal. And of course, creating like the ability to basically do what R6's doing, but again, to the largest and most impactful ordinals community to ever exist. So it's like, it's going to be open season at that point, right?
Yeah, that deserves repeating, dude.
Something like that. So we want to see what that results in, really. We're talking about experimentation here. Like, that's the next, like, compound in the mix, you know? Let's see the fucking the bubbles and stuff, you know?
Yeah, absolutely.
We're making a volcano here.
All right, guys, that's it for us. We talked about DMT-NATs. We talked a little bit about R6, distribution mechanisms, bitmap being the biggest
most impactful ordinals community to ever exist. That's what it is.
Thank you, dude. All right. If we miss anything, if you, I guess, don't understand anything about DMT-NAT, hit us up on Discord. We're happy to answer any questions. Look out for that Twitter space. I don't know when we'll do it, but we'll have to coordinate with Cubs. And, yeah, let us know if we, I guess, miss anything. But, yeah, appreciate you guys. Catch you in the next video.
Peace.